A couple of months ago, I tried out this black and silver OUTFITR 2-bike hitch rack, and I've been carrying around my e-bikes on it since then. Last week, the company sent along an upgraded version of this rack with a unique camouflage design and improved weather-resistant coating that is perfect for the Pacific Northwest. Hello everybody, this is Matthew Miller, otherwise known as Palm Solo, and thanks for visiting the Mobile with Matt YouTube channel. Please subscribe to support this channel, and if you enjoy the content, share it on your social networks and with your family and friends. This OUTFITR Desert Camo 2 e-bike rack is capable of carrying 2 bikes with a total capacity on the rack of 200 pounds. As you can see here, I have a fairly heavy King Bull fat tire bike and a Muckpet Ninja moped style bike, both of which are pretty heavy bikes on the order of 80-85 pounds, and they fit on here perfectly. I previously tested that model there, the silver and black one. That is model 4148 from OUTFITR, and this new rack has a model number of 4190. But before we get into the details of my experiences, let's first unbox and set up this new rack for mounting various bikes, and then I'll get into the details of my experiences. The OUTFITR Desert Camo 2 e-bike rack arrived, and I unboxed and put everything out. One mistake I made early on was I read the diagram wrong and put the first frame piece upside down. I later resolved that as I was putting on the bikes, but I was able to proceed and put the rest of the bike rack together, including the rails and the tire mounting brackets and everything else. But then I did notice there were a couple of bolts missing, so I had to put down the unboxing and come back a little bit later. After getting the right bolts, I was able to put the rest of the bike rack together, still not seeing that I had the main frame piece that connects to the truck upside down, and that will be resolved later on when I figure out that the bikes won't go on there without being in the right configuration. Simply follow the instructions and it's pretty straightforward. It will take you probably half an hour or 45 minutes to put everything together, but once you do, it slides right into a truck and it's ready to load up with your bikes, as you'll see in the rest of the video. As you saw in the unboxing, it's important to pay attention to the specific details to assemble this rack and to have the right tools available as well. As I pulled out all of the parts and pieces and I looked around, and I remembered from the past rack that underneath the 2 rails that the bike has, there was 2 embedded sliding bolts. On the one that was sent to me, those bolts and then the nuts and the washers were missing. So I emailed the company and talked to them back and forth. I actually just took the nuts and bolts off of this existing bike rack, took it to the McClendon's hardware store, found the right bolts. So you'll see in my unboxing, as you've seen, that it's kind of in 2 different parts because there was a period of time when I had some travel and then I had to come back with the right parts and then put it and assemble it all together. Now also note that when I put that the Desert Camo one together, it was about 90 degrees outside, and I did everything right, but it turned out I had the one key piece in there flipped upside down, so I had to disassemble one part of it, flip that back over, and everything is good to go now. Let's start off talking about some key specifications of the OUTFITR Desert Camo 2 e-bike rack, which is the one you see here with these 2 bikes, and it's mounted on the back of my Ford truck. OUTFITR actually has several different bike rack models available, including racks for 1 bike and another one that even will hold up to 3 bikes. I wanted a rack that carries 2 bikes, one for me and one for another family member or friend that's going to go riding with me up on the logging roads and the trails and things like that. One thing that's unique about this new rack is that camouflage design that's on there. Now this camouflage design is kind of a grass, leaf, dry grass kind of pattern that's on there. It's not a camouflage pattern that's common on maybe military outfits and things like that, but it's kind of nice because it does fit in with the Pacific Northwest and going out and about into the woods. And it's perfect for those who want a rack with a bit of a different look, right? Not a silver, black, or a standard one, but those who want some kind of different one that stands out, and it has all these orange highlights as well. So if you trail ride, you take your bikes hunting, or if you have other outdoor activities that you participate in, you really might like this camo design. Another nice aspect about this new one is that the coating is designed to be highly weather resistant, and that's perfect for the overcast conditions that I find myself here in the Pacific Northwest most of the time. Although today when I was putting things together, it was about 90 degrees and sunny, so even in those nice summer conditions when the sun can beat down on the rack, having that protective coating is also going to help. And of course, for me that rides e-bikes quite a bit, carrying 2 bikes with a capacity of 200 pounds is a very, very good feature to have. Now this rack also supports bikes with up to a 50-inch wheelbase, and I have to go and check out that King Bowl one, because this is a new King Bowl that I've just started testing, and it is a long wheelbase. When I mounted that one up on the rack, it fits almost fully inside the front tire. It is a 4-inch tire. It says it fits up to 5-inch tires. The 4-inch tire of that King Bowl fits in and takes up almost all of that first notch, and then when I slid the other wheel part back to it, it went almost to the edge, just above where the ramp connects. Speaking of the ramp, that ramp goes with you wherever you travel because it fits right into the back of the rack, has a cotter pin, holds it in place and keeps it there, and then that cotter pin is actually secured to a bolt as well. So you can take that with you, load up your bikes, take it with you on the road, and unload your bikes and everything else. And that is also covered in that camo coating. I've had some friends with some other bike racks, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult to tie down the bike and secure it. This bike rack has a very nice hard plastic ratcheting straps. They're very long straps on there, so it adjusts to any, almost virtually any wheel and tire size. So you just put that in that class, pull that tight, and so far it's been very, very secure. A single button press and you can release those straps. I've not seen those straps loosen up at all. There's also a very thick rubber piece on there that helps to secure and protect your wheel when you have those straps in place. One thing that I just had a friend come over the other day, and he had an older bike rack, and he had no way to carry a step-through bike unless he mounted a separate pole that he had to find in the back of his vehicle, and then that pole goes across the step-through. The nice thing about this OUTFITR rack is that there's a solid pole, and then you can rotate that solid pole and then slide the clamp up and down, all the way up and down that pole, and you can rotate it. So you can pretty much figure out any way you want to secure the center of the bike, the top of the bike, with that really nice clamp system that also has the ratcheting straps on there with the rubber protector to protect the frame piece on there as well. So it really holds it very securely. So once you put the bike on there, you've got 3 securing points to hold the bike, and it's rock solid. Kind of speaking of the rack itself, it has an alloy steel on the primary load-bearing bottom of the rack, and then these frame pieces here, the rails where the bikes ride on, those are aluminum, lightweight rails, so they're pretty easy to pick up and hold. And the bike rack overall has a total weight of about 60 pounds. It's a bit awkward at times, but as you can see when you fold it up and then you can store it vertically like this, it's really not that bad of a package to carry around. And I simply pick it up by those secure rails, and the 60 pounds isn't too bad to carry around. As you can see here, this is in the folded up stage, so you can put it on the back of your vehicle and then fold that rack up, and it sticks out about a foot or so. And then of course in this configuration right here, the rack is extended out and holding those 2 bikes. The steel frame piece fits into all 2-inch receivers, and those are found on trucks, SUVs, RVs, and many other cars as well. And the nice thing about this rack is OUTFITR also comes with a 1-year warranty on the rack for any defects or something that might happen to it. So while I have a couple of standard bikes, most of the time I spend riding e-bikes, especially when I'm going to use the rack, because I take those bikes out into the woods or to the beach or somewhere else, and I want to ride those bikes in some other environment. It's going to be an e-bike, and they can usually be heavy, 50 to 80 pounds. And with this OUTFITR Desert Camo 2 e-bike rack, I can now carry any 2 e-bikes in my collection. I looked at everything that I have, even an eMTB. There's no bike that I have that is not able to be carried on this. Now, there's some cargo e-bikes that are quite long. Those ones you may have trouble putting on the back of the rack. I'd have to check the frame length on those ones, but they are pretty big and pretty long. As I mentioned, it has that 50-inch wheelbase vehicles, tire capacity up to 5 inches wide. So thankfully I still have some strength, even though I am getting older. I can certainly lift the bikes onto the rack if I wanted to, but a lot of times if you're doing that, especially as you get closer to your vehicle, it can be dangerous. You might slide, you might fall into your vehicle or something like that. So this ramp that comes with it is a really nice feature to have. And you simply pull it off the back. It fits into 2 notches at either end of the bike rails. And then you just roll your bike right up the ramp. And as I mentioned earlier, once you roll that bike up the ramp, the front tire rests in that angled wheel cradle, slide the back tire support against the rear tire, and then lock it down with those 2 wheel and tire straps, and then that center mounted strap. Removal of the bikes is very easy too. You simply push a single button at the top of those securing straps and then pull that ratcheting strap out, loosen those up, loosen the ratcheting strap up there, and you're good to go. I was a bit worried about the size and weight of e-bikes and the value of those e-bikes because they can approach $2,000. but the OUTFITR Desert Camo 2 e-bike rack proved to carry 2 bikes with various designs very easily and securely. You can shake these around, they are rock solid and secure. I've driven many miles of these on the back of the truck. It's never touched the truck, I've never fell off the rack or anything else. And there's about a 15-inch space between the bikes. So even bikes with wider handlebars, they don't really touch each other, they don't rub against each other. And there's also about a foot behind my truck bed to the first bike handlebar area. And the main thing that's going to be there is the center adjusting bar. That's the closest thing to the vehicle. And since that is bolted onto the rack and secure, that means it's not going to hit your vehicle. So some of the pros and cons as I talk about this rack, that ability to carry heavy e-bikes with wide tires is a major benefit of this e-bike rack. That integrated ramp is also very helpful for loading big bikes as well. Those ratcheting straps are very well made, very hard and rugged. I'm interested to see how those hold up after a year. They're very easy to adjust and pull down tight. The bike is held in place safely and securely with no loose parts and pieces. And that $450 price for the rack is actually pretty reasonable given the quality and the capability of the bike rack. I've seen much more expensive bike racks that didn't offer this capacity and the capability to carry e-bikes as easily. There are a couple areas for improvement. Still need a rather large wrench or socket to secure the rack to the 2-inch receiver. And sometimes on trailers I've had where the bolt just slips in and I put the cotter pin in there. This one you have to screw that in all the way. It helps make it more secure, but it does take some time. One thing I have learned is it's best to put the rack in the folded up position and then secure that bolt. It makes it much more easier for access. So if you're first hooking up the rack, fold it up, secure it, and fold it back down to load up the bikes. Now when I did the review on this bike rack, a viewer left a comment about the ability to lock your bike on the rack, and that's a good point. Sometimes if you're going for a longer trip, you put the bikes on there, you secure them, everything's nice and secure, but then you want to go to a restaurant or the restroom or something else, or maybe you're camping. There's no locking mechanism for the rack or your bikes. Now you can, just like on any trailer, you can easily enough to buy a locking cotter pin for your bike to put a lock on that so the rack can be locked down to your vehicle. And then you can use bike locks. I haven't had to do it yet, but you could use a bike lock to secure your bike to the bike rack. But that's a good point about locking capability, and that's something to look into. I would also really like some kind of reflector on the rack. Now, most bikes, especially on the tires and the wheels, there are reflectors, so if somebody's driving behind you, it should be very visible that you have a bike on the back of your vehicle with all the reflectors on the bike itself. But I've also seen racks where they have a dedicated reflector on the back of that rack, and I was thinking what I could do is just put some reflector tape on the ramp itself, and then the whole ramp would light up so people would see that. And I think that would be a good future feature, is maybe to have OUTFITR put the reflective stripe on that ramp, and then it would be very visible. One other thing is if you have this rack mounted permanently on your vehicle, it'd be nice if there was a way to maybe mount your license plate back on the back of the rack so people could see that. This OUTFITR rack has an MSRP of $689.99. However, it's on sale on their website now for $449.99. I've been exploring more areas with my bike since I tested the first OUTFITR rack. And even if you have a truck with an empty bed, I think a rack like this OUTFITR Desert Camo 2 e-bike rack is a better arrangement for transporting those bikes. The rack fits standard 2-inch receivers, so it can go with RVs, trucks, SUVs, cars with ease. You don't have to put bikes in the back of your vehicle, figure out creative ways to strap them down where they don't hit each other, they don't fall over. And with using a bike rack like this, I can still use the full bed of my truck. I'm going camping, I can load up that truck with everything else and then still have my bike safely back here on the back of the vehicle. And they're really easy to load and unload thanks to that ramp that it comes with. I like the new color of the Desert Camo bike rack, and I will be using this rack from now on. I think I prefer the Desert Camo look with the orange, kind of matches the orange and blue of my truck a little more than the silver and black, although that is a very attractive color as well. The ability to use this rack with step-through bikes, folding e-bikes, any configuration of e-bikes without needing an extra bar and that cool loading ramp is really great. The rack is proven to hold these bikes securely in place and keep my truck free from scratches as well. Driving around has verified that the bikes stay in place, even over speed bumps on hills and on winding roads. OUTFITR also provides a 1-year warranty on the rack, so you can rest assured it will continue to provide a safe and secure platform for your bikes. Thanks to OUTFITR for the opportunity to test out this new OUTFITR Desert Camo 2 e-bike rack. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share. Interact with me here and stay tuned for more coverage of e-bikes, wearables, and other mobile technology. And may the mobile force be with you.